Hey everyone, welcome back to the Female Founder World podcast. I'm Jasmine Garnsworthy. I host the show and I facilitate all of the Female Founder World workshops. And I also have a skincare business called The Buff. If you want to learn more about that, it's thebuff.com. Guys, I never plug it on the show, so there you go. I'm plugging it today. Today's episode is an interview with the founder of a company called Urban Skin RX. Her name is Rachel Roff. Let's get into the episode. Well, Rachel, welcome to the show. The first thing I ask everyone who comes on is just to tell us about your company in your own words and also to give a couple of milestones or insights to let people know where you are kind of in the entrepreneurial story and what stage your company is at right now.
So Urban Skin RX is a clinical skincare line specializing in the needs of diverse skin tones. More specifically, I would say uneven skin tone and hyperpigmentation is what we are really known for. We are sold in over 10,000 retail doors, including Target, Ulta, Walgreens. Also, I'm on HSN occasionally. But I would also be really proud to say that 50% of our sales still come from our website. So we are, for a very long time, a digitally native company that's now, getting into retail. Some milestones in my last 15 years of being a medical owner, esthetician, and now skincare line formulator, blah, 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 is, I would say launching my brand in Target was very surreal for me, especially because I did not start out creating a brand to get into retail. It was specifically just to serve the needs of my clients while they were in my treatment room. So that was just like such a awe moment for me. Another one was we got a pretty large investment almost 2 years ago from a private equity firm. It's something that we didn't really start talking about till more recently, but a lot of people don't know that, and it's something that I'm very proud of achieving.
Congratulations. I want to dial back a little bit and learn more about your story and how the brand came about. I know that you have, a lot of history in the beauty space, so I'm really interested to hear how the company came about as a part of that.
Well, it started with my own struggles with my skin. At the age of 2, I developed a really large nevus mole on the side of my face that I was bullied immensely for, which probably drove me to overeat, which me ending up with really bad acne and, overweight, which can cause acne. And so, I started going to a plastic surgeon in junior high to see if they could remove the mole because I was so embarrassed of it. And it was right on the side of my mouth. And that's why it took a plastic surgeon. And later in high school, I ended up removing the majority of it. They first tried with lasers, which was when I really first got, subjected to the world of cosmetic lasers, which wasn't successful for the type of mole I had, but it always intrigued me. And then my dermatologist I grew up in California, had an esthetician, because California was a bit ahead of the game. I'm 40. This is, almost 30 years ago. And I was like, gosh, I loved going to the esthetician for my acne. And it was just like, it felt so amazing to lay there and know somebody was working on improving things that bothered me so much on a daily basis. And I, thought to myself, this is something I would love to do, like be in the cosmetic dermatology field. But I was a terrible student. And so the aesthetic route ended up, seeming more realistic to me than medical school. And I ended up transferring colleges to UNC Charlotte from University of San Francisco. When I finished college, I went right into aesthetic school, which I think my parents, who were lawyers, thought it was just going to, be a fad. And when I graduated, I would go on to like be a lawyer too. But I was like, no, I want to be an esthetician still. Through going to aesthetic school, I quickly saw that, it was not an inclusive industry. It was like all white teachers, predominantly white students. And it was really, I think why it was so noticeable to me is Charlotte, North Carolina is very much not a predominantly white place. It's like 50%, Black and pretty much 50% white amongst, some other ethnicities. And so I was like, gosh, why are we not reflecting the population? And to get through school, you have to, do a certain amount of hours actually doing treatments on people and you bring in your own people to do facials. And it's like a lot of my friends and family had deeper skin tones. And when it went to treat them, it was just this like teachers would always say, oh, they burn so easily. Don't do this, don't do that. And I'm like, well, how are we supposed to help them? We can't just do like massages on their face if there's like dark spots and acne. There has to be, more clinical problem solution, remedies that won't burn them. And so it really just ended up being on me to educate myself as it pertained to treating the concerns of deeper skin tones just so I could help the people around me that I loved. And ended up getting my first job as an esthetician. The person, it was a brand new business by chance. It was a non-doctor who opened this med spa. He just thought it would be some easy money. And he bought a laser hair removal device that was safe for deeper skin tones. It treated all skin tones, which was rare for laser. Most laser hair removal devices at that time were only safe for lighter skin. And I started treating some friends and noticed such an amazing improvement, especially on some of my male friends who were African American and have really bad ingrown hairs on their neck. And the business wasn't doing very well. I wasn't making barely any money because I was commission based. And so I had made this before and after picture of a male friend's beard neck and all his ingrown hairs gone after some laser hair removal treatment. And I just decided that I was going to go into barbershops and pass out these flyers. And we started getting, clients. And then the owner of the spa saw that I really was probably more than just an esthetician. I was into some guerrilla marketing techniques. And he was like, what else can we do? And I was like, well, let's, go on the radio and do an ad that we have a laser hair removal device that works on deeper skin tones too, because all these ads I hear, really aren't for deeper skin tones. And we started getting a bunch of business and then just thought to myself, this guy doesn't care about this mission that I have developed, which is, you know, treating the needs of a group of people who had really been ignored. And so at the age of 24, I wrote a business plan and started a really small med spa. It was just me and two employees, and quickly ended up known in the Southeast as, this girl that was doing really great work on the needs of deeper skin tones, specifically with also hyperpigmentation. And so that was just my goal, was to eventually franchise that. And then that was 2006, and probably around 2009, I had just been tired of not finding the solutions I needed with skincare lines. It was like I was a huge believer in, not just professional treatments, but what somebody was using twice a day on their skin. And I just could never find really great products for hyperpigmentation. It seemed like every line had like one product for hyperpigmentation, the rest was for acne or anti-aging. And so I just started learning how to formulate products and that were really geared towards uneven skin tone, which is the primary concern of more melanin-rich skin. And 2010 launched Urban Skin RX, and over time, it just eventually became a DTC brand. It's like word got out about it. People kept calling saying, I want to buy your product. My sister is a client there. I live in Minnesota. I want to. And so it just happened very unstrategically and just kind of grew by demand. And that's how it happened.
I want to focus in on the e-commerce and D2C side of the business to begin with. Like, what things are kind of moving the needle now in terms of bringing customers to the site, converting them on the website versus kind of what was moving the needle maybe 10 years ago when you were kicking off?
Gosh, well, now that we are a bigger brand, it's definitely all about website optimization and customer journey and studying like, one, you want people to get to the website. So there's a whole strategy behind getting somebody to click on your website, which, whether or not that's social media or it's influencers or press or digital ads, all that has to be effective to get somebody to get to your website. But then there's conversion once they get to the website. And so you can study the customer journey and figure out like, where are people spending the most time at on your website, where are they falling off, and then trying to fix where they are falling off at. Is that possibly, in the checkout process? I mean, so many studies have shown that even like one additional click can lead to like 20% less people, actually converting to the sale. So it's really trying to make that customer journey as easy as possible. Also, for a brand like ours, where we have a lot of products and we're living in a society where I think there's so much noise that people are getting very overwhelmed easy, and their attention span is shorter and smaller. And so we've developed a pretty great skin quiz where in 5 questions can give somebody a really great skincare recommendation that is personalized for them. There's a coupon code if they buy that recommendation. So, God, I mean, down to even homepage, and A/B testing things, like putting up 2 homepages and figuring out which one is converting people more than the other one. Language, I mean, it's all about testing, A/B testing, and really studying the consumer's journey.
Urban Skin RX has a lot of different products now, and I'm really curious to understand like what the process is. First of all, from vetting an idea for a new product through to the development process, like what are those steps that are involved in bringing out something new and adding it to the brand?
I would say a lot of it is social listening. What are your customers saying that they need? What are they complaining that the skincare line isn't doing for them? What products are they buying from other brands that you feel like is a hole within your brand? What ingredients are trending? What is being searched the most on Google? So I think it, as well as, trying to make your retailers happy. Retailers have initiatives where they will find that, they don't have enough toners right now, or they don't have enough oils. And so they will look to you to create, fill in that void for them. Regardless if it's trending or not, they might just ultimately find, hey, we don't have enough oils right now. And so can you please make us one? So I would say that's probably one of the first places. And then the second one is definitely staying true to myself and the brand and not just following every trend, knowing that something can be trending, but that if that doesn't really align with getting your customer the results that especially for a clinical brand, they need, ignoring that trend, and knowing, leaving it for other people. And then from there, it is honestly going and doing a lot of competitive product research. Like I will go and buy 20 products that are like, I want to make a overnight hydrating mask. Like, let me go buy 20 hydrating overnight masks from Sephora and Ulta and Target and see which one do I love. And, by all means, Urban Skin Arts has been inspired by a lot of great other brands, especially when it comes to like, how a product feels and the application process. And then from there, we will create a product brief. Myself and my R&D manager, we will sit down and say, we want it to include these ingredients at these percentages. We don't want it to include these ingredients. We want it to feel like this, smell like this. This is the target cost. So this is what we need to make it. Can't be more expensive than this. This is the packaging that will be in. So you do all of that, and then you send it to your lab of choice. Sometimes you'll send it to different labs because the majority of skincare brands don't have their own labs. We contract manufacture. And oftentimes you will even send a benchmark. So you'll say, oh, I have this sample from Burst, and I love the way this feels. Like, ignore the ingredients that are in it, but from a texture standpoint, please make it feel like this texture. And then you go from there.
Amazing. I picked up before how you were saying that one of the milestones that you think are most significant is when you went into Target, and that now you're in 10,000 doors across different retailers, which is amazing. And I think that so many people who are starting a company like that is just an absolute dream. I'd love you to tell us how that all came about, what that process looks like, and just let people understand a little bit more about what's involved in launching at a retailer like Target.
Yeah, so I think it's still a bit of the same process. Every once in a while, retailers will go look for brands, but very often brokers present brands to retailers. And so I hadn't been focused on getting a retailer, but I had a consultant who's now my COO, Brad Jones, and he said, I really think your brand could do well at Target, and I have some connections, to a broker. Some other brands that I've, worked with use this huge broker. They're called Moscow. They're out of Minneapolis, and they do a lot of business with beauty brands at Target. And so he said, let's present your brand to Moscow. And if they're interested and they think that you have a chance to make it at Target, they'll then present your brand to Target. And so that's what happened. They loved the brand. They, myself and them, then had a meeting with Target, and we presented the brand to the multicultural skincare beauty buyer, which was Jasmine Foster. And the really cool thing is Jasmine Foster is now my head of sales. So she left Target to come to my brand a couple years later. So, you know, that was how we got into Target. The very interesting thing that a lot of people don't know is retailers do not give you a contract. So a lot of times you think, like, basically retailers just verbally confirm, hey, we're going to take your brand. They won't tell you how many stores they're going to put you in. They won't tell you how many products they're going to necessarily order from you, like how much of each one. And they'll just say, and it's usually about 9 months in advance, we'll say, okay, we want your brand, and then you have to produce the inventory. And you have not gotten any money from them yet, and you don't exactly know what the order is going to look like. So they're, relying that you have that financial stability to go in and, create and pay for that inventory. So typically with contract manufacturing, the lab will require that you pay 50% at the time you place the PO. And so let's say I'm making an order and I've just thought, okay, in case Target puts us in all doors, this is not a right number. I'm going to need 20,000 of each of the 3 products I propose to them. Well, let's say that's a $300,000 order. Well, my lab is going to say, we want $150,000 right off the bat. Then when they're done creating the order, they're going to want the other 150,000. Then the Target order comes in. Oh, it's only half the doors you thought. So here you are, you're out $300,000 in products. You finally ship the products because you just get this PO that comes in. You don't get a contract. And then typically retailers have anywhere from, 60 to 75 days to pay you. And so for a small brand, you can be out a significant amount of money for, up to a year. And I think that it can take a lot of money to succeed in retail, and people don't know that. And if you don't sell well there, you can often have to buy back your inventory. And then on top of it, I think a lot of people just think, Target is so popular. If my brand just sits on the shelf, it's going to sell. But that's not how it necessarily works. And that's not the expectation of the retailer. The retailer expectation is you are sending your consumer to Target, or you are advertising to send a new consumer to Target to buy your product. And so it is very often a huge marketing spend to support a retail launch. And even, with beauty getting so competitive and there now being so many choices, I mean, you can't ever get too comfortable. You have to continue that marketing process.
What does that marketing push look like when you're trying to support a new retail partner? What kind of things are you doing?
Gosh, I mean, anything from influencers, posting on social media, and then us boosting those posts, which is called whitelisting. So you put like kind of paid dollars behind their posts on their page to show to more audiences. It can be press. So you hire a PR team or you do press yourself. And when, an outlet talks about your brand, oftentimes you can say where you want them to push that consumer to. So rather than saying, let's say Elle Magazine says, oh, we love the Super C Brightening Serum, rather than it say, find it at urbanskinarts.com, you can put target.com on it. So you can push press to retailers. I've done launch events, which doesn't always have the best ROI, but it can kind of create a buzz like on social media, NPR. And then there is, digital advertising. The only problem with digital advertising is you can't measure it to a retail door. So digital advertising is really often used as a tool to drive to brands' websites because you can measure that. Versus if I run an ad that says buy at Target, I can't measure that much of the sales that come from that ad. And more prestige retailers like Ulta or Sephora, and I'm not at Sephora, but they give a lot of opportunity for sampling opportunities, which are still expensive. Oftentimes, you have to pay for the sampling opportunity and you have to pay for the samples. You can pay for displays. So there's really a range of ways to support retail from a marketing perspective.
You mentioned earlier a couple of consultants who were helping earlier on, or different people that you came in touch with earlier in the business that are now on board on your team. What does your team look like now, and how have you kind of shifted the manpower as the business has expanded?
Gosh, so we grew so much in 2020, a little bit too much, in my opinion. Growth can be such a blessing and a curse. But in 2019, we were only 17. Today, we are 50, with the majority of all of those hires taking place in 2020. Today, we've only had two C levels, me as the CEO and then a COO. And today, my CMO started, which is such a milestone for the brand. But, we have a operations department which oversees, supply chain, fulfillment, our warehouses, and they also oversee customer service. Then we have a marketing team, which is PR, social media, digital advertising, branding. And then we have our creative department, which has everything from copywriters, UX, UI designers, project managers, art directors. We have an ecomm team, which is programmers. We have a finance team. We have an R&D department. But it's been a struggle, building a team which came faster than I could really keep up with. Probably one of the hardest parts of businesses I've ever done, especially when we grew as fast as we did, because so many people are walking into first generation positions. So it's like typically when somebody starts a job, it's like they're replacing somebody else. There's already processes in place there. And yeah, you might fine tune them or make recommendations of changes, but most of our positions is we're really looking at you to walk in and tell us what needs to happen. Like you carve out your own duties, your own processes, and that's not been that easy. As well as, getting people to be cross-functional in a very collaborative, company first way, especially during a pandemic, has been very difficult. It's been kind of like a known thing that oftentimes different departments have their own agenda. So it's like, sales is really wanting to push retail, and let's say ecom really cares about like DTC and getting people to really just look at the brand as one thing. It's not the easiest thing for sure, especially because I'm only an esthetician. I'm like, you guys, I was not supposed to be a CEO. I am a spa manager. I can like keep a schedule like no other in terms of the facials and laser hair removal, but this is a whole nother ballgame.
This actually leads me perfectly to my next question, which is the last question that I ask everyone on the show. And that is, what resources have helped you, books, podcasts, community, in steering this ship and upskilling and growing yourself as the company has grown?
Yeah, I mean, I've read a lot of Inc. magazine is one of my favorite resources, as well as their website, the Harvard Business Journal. Having a network, I belong to something called Beauty United, which was started by the founder of BeautyCon. And it's kind of somewhat a private group, but it's all of like beauty, makeup, hair founders. I mean, from everybody from Olaplex to Sunday, like Anastasia, Gwyneth Paltrow. And it's like we're on a WhatsApp chat and we meet every Tuesday and we just literally at like, who are you using for a digital ad agency? And have you like, references for somebody else? And like, how's your customer service team handling remote work? Are you making them go into the office or not? So that has been like a huge blessing, as well as being friends with other founders. Like the last 3 or 4 months, especially through some of the iOS changes, like our brand has just seen a softening in sales, especially with like everybody's kind of diverting a bit of their attention. They were so heavy into skincare, and now it's a bit more makeup and travel, and I've been, of course, like, I mean, it hasn't been terrible, but any dip in sales like scares the shit out of me. And, so it's really nice. Some people front that everything's perfect, but I have, definitely some founders that are transparent like me, and they'll be like, girl, everybody's done with this. Like, because everybody looks like they're killing it on social media. And so to be able to have those people that are like, no, actually, we're going through the same thing, like that just calms my nerves and makes me feel better.
Amazing. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the show and for being so transparent yourself about your story and how you've grown Urban Skin RX. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It was really nice chatting. Have a great day, okay?
Guys, did you love that episode? I hope you did. Could you please, if you did love it, drop a 5-star review, just a cheeky 5 stars, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that's Apple or Spotify or somewhere else entirely. It helps to grow our community of founders and helps more people to find the show. Thanks. Chat to you next time.